The movie begins with Honolulu-based attorney Matt King talking about how his life is as miserable as someone living outside Hawaii. People think that just because he lives in Hawaii, he lives in paradise, but the reality is quite the opposite. 23 days ago, Matt's wife, Elizabeth Thorson King, met a boat accident that caused her to go into a coma. When Matt heard about the accident, he wasn't even in town, and they hadn't spoken in 3 days. In a way, they hadn't really spoken in months. It turns out that the couple was experiencing marital issues due to Matt's inability to concentrate on the family and his stingy behavior of not letting Elizabeth buy a yacht or an apartment in France. However, seeing Elizabeth's deteriorating condition, Matt decides to sort things out with his wife once she wakes up. He is ready to buy his wife whatever she wants and be a good father again. Being a father to 10-year-old Scotty and 17-year-old Alex, Matt has to fulfill all the responsibilities of both parents, but the problem is he is not very connected to his children. The last time he cared for Scotty alone was when she was 3. Now she is 10, and Matt has no idea what to do with her. It seems like he is not a real dad but a backup parent who is understudy. As if Elizabeth's coma was not enough already, the whole estate is following his decision on who will buy 25,000 pristine acres on Kauai that his family has owned since the 1860s. Matt's great-great-grandmother was Princess Margaret, one of the last direct descendants of King Kamehameha. She was originally supposed to marry her cousin, but she fell in love with Edward King, her whole banker, whose parents had been missionaries. Between his land deals and her vast inheritance, generations of their descendants have watched the past unfurl millions into their laps through leases and sales. Now something called the rule against perpetuities is forcing the King family to dissolve the trust, which will expire in 7 years. Ever since Matt's father died, he has been the sole trustee, which means he alone holds all the cards. Matt's decision will significantly impact Hawaii's real estate world and his broke cousins, who will soon become rich again. Unlike many of his cousins, Matt hasn't blown his shares of trust money, but he lives only on income from his law practice, so he can set up an example for his daughters to work hard. Not only is he the sole trustee, but he has also specialized in real estate transaction law, so a few of the more involved cousins have been meeting with him to analyze the bids. Don't be fooled by their appearances. In Hawaii, some of the most influential people look like bums and stuntmen. The family has gotten many proposals, including a Chicago group offering $500 million, but they are leaning towards a lower bid from a Kauai native named Don Holitzer. Old cousin Hugh is pushing them in this direction, and they don't find anything wrong in this bid. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's condition begins to worsen. She has no eye movement or brainstem reflexes. The machines can keep her alive, but the quality of her life would be so poor. Matt has to decide because Elizabeth can never be as she was before. Although Matt is heartbroken by the doctor's opinion and Elizabeth's will, he must accept his fate and tell his family about what's happening. Seeing Elizabeth's friends, Kai and Mark, in the room, Matt didn't get the guts to unfold the truth about her health. While Matt and Scotty are having lunch, they are approached by Troy, who was the driver of the boat when the accident happened. Matt is still upset with Troy for letting Elizabeth drive that day when she was supposed to drive. As Scotty is too depressed to hear about her mother's accident, Matt decides to take her on vacation away from anxiety and stress. Now they are on their way to surprise Alex, who has been studying at Hawaii Pacific Institute. Their family seems exactly like an archipelago, all part of the same whole but still separate, alone and constantly drifting apart. After approaching there, Matt discovers that Alex has been deeply involved in alcohol and boys. Matt not only has to deal with Alex's self-destructive behavior, but also her lack of interest in the family. Matt wants to talk to her about Elizabeth's health, but it seems like she doesn't want to talk about anything. While Alex is swimming, Matt tells her how her mother will not be able to make it to life again. After learning that Elizabeth will die soon, Alex bursts into tears, but she doesn't want to visit her at the hospital. It turns out that the mother and daughter had a big fight on Christmas, after which they never spoke. Matt doesn't know about the reason, but he advises his daughter to forget about everything and visit her mother once. Alex unfolds how Elizabeth cheated on Matt while he was away from town. When she tried to talk her out, Elizabeth first denied the allegations and then scolded her daughter to stay away from her personal matter. Alex was about to tell her dad, but then the accident happened. Matt can't believe his ears and dashes toward Kai and Mark to clarify what's happening. At first, Kai doesn't want to unfold her friend's secret, but when Matt insists, she spits out how Elizabeth would ask him for a divorce. What can you expect from a marriage where the couple didn't talk for months? Matt wants to know the name of Elizabeth's boyfriend, but Kai doesn't want to betray her when she is not even here to defend herself. After realizing that Elizabeth will die soon, Matt decides not to care about this matter anymore. Before Matt can leave, Mark tells him about Brain Spears, who was involved in an extramarital affair with Elizabeth. Matt returns home and finds Alex's brainless friend, Sid, who will stay here for some time to help Alex through the difficult time. As Matt and Alex must inform the whole family about Elizabeth's health, Sid will accompany them. Matt doesn't want Sid to come, but Alex promises to be more civilized with him around. When Elizabeth's father, Scott, learns about the situation, he scolds Matt for not caring for his daughter. After meeting Scott, the trio heads their way to the house where Alex first saw Elizabeth with her boyfriend. Matt changes his mind after approaching the house and decides to return home until he passes by a board with Brian Spears' name on it. After taking Brian's number, Matt returns home and leaves a message on his number regarding the property he has displayed for sale. The following day, the family heads their way to the hospital to give their consent to the doctor to remove Elizabeth's machine. Although Matt and Alex are angry with Elizabeth for betraying them, they don't want to talk more harshly to someone who will die in a week. While in the hospital, Matt gets a call from Brian's assistant, who tells Alex about Brian's week-long vacation in Kauai. After telling everyone in the family about Elizabeth's condition, Matt boards a plane with his daughters and Sid to find Brian in Kauai. At the airport, Matt meets his cousin Ralph, who gives the group a tour of the lands they own for a few days until the deal is done with Don Holitzer. Some cousins don't want to sell the property, but the trust dissolves in 7 years, which means that if they don't sell it, it is going to be a train wreck. Matt has checked every hotel on the island, but he cannot find Brian anywhere. He is assured that Brian might have rented one of the cottages around the bay. While Matt is jogging in the morning, he sees Brian running along the seashore. Matt follows him and discovers his location. The following day, Matt meets Brian's wife, Julie, and learns that their rented house is owned by Cousin Hugh. After saying goodbye to Mrs. Spears, Matt sets up a meeting with Cousin Hugh to discover more about Brian and his family. It turns out that Don Holitzer is Brian's brother-in-law with whom he works. When Don develops resell and leases, he will let Brian handle the transactions. Being a realtor, Brian is an essential part of the Kauai project through which he will earn a fortune. After sending Sid and Scotty for a walk, Matt and Alex head their way to Brian's place. When Brian learns that the person standing outside his house is Elizabeth's husband, he gets stunned but controls himself to avoid his wife's attention. While Alex helps Julie in the kitchen, Matt inquires Brian about his relationship with Elizabeth. Brian unfolds how he got attracted by Elizabeth, which escalated things far beyond his expectations. According to Brian, he didn't love Elizabeth but Julie, who is the mother of his 2 boys. Before leaving, Matt advises Brian to meet Elizabeth for the last time, as she won't survive more than a week. Matt returns to his hometown and spends the remaining days with Elizabeth. Everyone in the family, including Scotty, knows that Elizabeth will die soon, so they are visiting her in the hospital for the last time before she dies. When Scott arrives in Elizabeth's room and begins to scold Matt for being a lousy husband, Alex raises her voice for Matt and claims he has been doing a great job in these critical circumstances. What are we seeing? Alex is standing up for her father. Elizabeth's condition has really done something in the family. After some days, the King family gathers to vote for the property buyer. Most people choose Don Holitzer as the buyer, but it seems Matt is uncomfortable with the decision. Obviously, he doesn't want his wife's lover to get rich. If Matt signs the paper, Don will become the owner of the properties, which in turn will positively affect Brian's financial condition. Being the sole trustee, Matt decides not to sell the property to anyone. As the trust will expire in 7 years, he still has time to think about how to keep the lands. At first, Hugh threatens him with legal action, but it seems Matt is unbothered to anything. Seeing that Matt will not step back from his decision, Hugh calms down and accepts Matt's decision with a heavy heart. One day, Julie visits Elizabeth in the hospital and reveals that Brian won't come to see her for the last time. To compensate, she has decided to say goodbye to the woman who tried to ruin her home. Although Julie is enraged with Elizabeth but seeing her on the deathbed, she chooses to forgive her for everything she has done. Matt calms her down and tells her that Brian didn't love Elizabeth. It was just an attraction for him. Matt shares a goodbye kiss with his wife, after which she dies, leaving her family alone. The movie ends with the King's family scattering Elizabeth's ashes in the sea. Although the family's most crucial member has gone, but she became a source of union and love between the father and daughters before leaving. Overall, The Descendants is an excellent movie with an emotional yet funny storyline, making it even more interesting to watch. The directors have chosen to introduce Sid's immature character in the film, which perfectly lightens every scene's mood. After Elizabeth's death, Matt realized how she was doing the most challenging task in the world all alone. Although it took time for Matt to realize his job, he finally managed to reunite his family in one happy home. Thanks for watching another Essential Recap. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment what you'd like to see next.